Greetings, people. This is the Mexican American channel. You are welcome to join us. Hit the like button to support the channel and subscribe if you haven't subscribed yet.
I'd like to start off relating La Raza Unida to the vehicle of the Chicano Movement. The Chicano Movement, some years ago, was considered an impossible dream. La Raza Unida was considered an impossible dream. And this is a historic day for everyone that's here. And maybe everyone's name will not go down in the history books, but you've taken part in creating history. The one thing we want to establish is that the Chicano Movement, its concept and philosophy of self-determination, of even sovereignty, cannot be prostituted by politics, although politics can be incorporated into the Chicano Movement. And La Raza Unida is that vehicle that can bring forth all the leadership, all the thoughts, all the feelings, and also attack all the issues and to change the lives for the total number of our people, the masses of our people that may not be here, but who you represent. Those who never go into conferences, those who are in prisons, those who are in street corners, those people, young men who are in the barrios, in the campos, in the ranchitos, that we can incorporate those ideas into La Raza Unida, that we came here as an independent party, and that our wishes are that when we leave as a united independent party.
Rodolfo Corky Gonzales was a Mexican-American boxer, poet, political organizer, and civil rights activist who was a leading figure in the Chicano movement of the 1960s and 70s. Because of his prowess as a boxer, he was known as the Fist of the Movement. Born June 18, 1928, Denver, Colorado, U.S., died April 12, 2005, Denver. He was one of many leaders for the Crusade for Justice in Denver, Colorado. The Crusade for Justice was an urban rights and Chicano cultural urban movement during the 1960s, focusing on social, political, and economic justice for Chicanos. Gonzales convened the first ever Chicano Youth Liberation Conference in 1968, which was poorly attended due to timing and weather conditions. He tried again in March 1969 and established what is commonly known as the first Chicano Youth Liberation Conference. This conference was attended by many future Chicano activists and artists. It also birthed the spiritual plan of Aztlan, a pro-indigenous manifesto advocating revolutionary Chicano nationalism and self-determination for all Chicanos. Through the Crusade for Justice, Gonzales organized the Mexican-American people of Denver to fight for their cultural, political, and economic rights, leaving his mark on history. Corky's mother died when he was 2 years old, and his father raised him and his siblings. The family was poor, and Corky often helped his father, a migrant worker in the sugar beet fields. He earned the nickname Corky after his uncle commented on his personality, saying that he was always popping off like a cork. In 1944, Gonzales graduated from high school, and he subsequently enrolled at the University of Denver, hoping to pursue a degree in engineering. However, due to financial issues, he left after one semester. Meanwhile, Corky had begun training as a boxer in 1944. He won several important amateur competitions, and in 1947 he turned professional, fighting in the featherweight division. He had a successful career, retiring in 1955 with a record of 65 wins, 9 losses, and 1 tie. Corky entered the business world, first opening a neighborhood bar and then a bail bonds establishment. He also became politically active, dedicating his time to helping poor Chicanos. Corky believed Chicanos needed better representation in government. In the 1950s and 60s, he ran unsuccessfully for several political offices, including on the Denver City Council and in the Colorado State Legislature. He also lost bids to become a state senator and the mayor of Denver. When he lost, he turned his attention to the presidential campaign and ran the Colorado division of Viva Kennedy. In 1960, he campaigned for John F. Kennedy's presidential run and worked to attract Chicano voters to the Democratic Party. The group registered more Mexican Americans than any other time in Colorado's history. Kennedy carried the state, won the presidency by a narrow margin. In 1965, the mayor of Denver appointed Corky director of the local chapter of the Neighborhood Youth Corps, which provided job training for poor and underprivileged young people. However, he was fired the following year after he organized a protest against a newspaper for printing racist remarks about Chicanos. Rodolfo Corky Gonzales worked with Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., particularly in the late 1960s, to bridge the gap between the civil rights movement and the Chicano movement. Corky, a leader in the crusade for justice, aligned with King on economic justice. Crusade for Justice also joined other civil rights organizations and national movements. The group notably participated in the Southern Christian Leadership Conference's Poor People's Campaign, which culminated in a demonstration in Washington, D.C. in 1968. Protesters, who included African Americans, whites, Native Americans, and Hispanic Americans, demanded that the government address the employment and housing problems of the poor throughout the United States. In addition, Corky joined Cesar Chavez, who had helped organize poor farm laborers into the powerful National Farm Workers Association in marches and demonstrations. Corky worked on voter registration and challenged discriminatory policies, helping to build Chicano political power. He also fought for fair employment, housing, and community resources for Chicano communities. The group offered the Chicano community such benefits as job training, a food bank, and a bilingual school for children that encouraged cultural pride. Crusade for Justice also protested against police brutality, racism in the media, and employment discrimination. In 1969, the group helped Denver high school students organize a walkout when the school administration failed to fire a teacher who had used racist language. Throughout his life, Corky wrote about Chicano experiences. His document, The Spiritual Plan of Aztlan, encouraged Chicanos to strive for economic, cultural, and political freedom and ultimately self-determination. Aztlan refers to the ancestral land of the Aztecs that the United States annexed from Mexico under the treaty ending the Mexican-American War in 1848. The first National Chicano Youth Liberation Conference, which Crusade for Justice hosted in 1969, chose the plan as the Chicano Movement's manifesto. Chicano, identifier for people of Mexican descent born in the United States. The term came into popular use by Mexican Americans as a symbol of pride during the Chicano movement of the 1960s. The Chicano community created a strong political and cultural presence in response to years of social oppression and discrimination in a predominantly Caucasian American society. Like most historically disenfranchised groups in the United States, some Mexican Americans have taken the term Chicano, previously considered a pejorative word, and used it to empower themselves. Today, the term Chicano is an essential component of the community's revitalization and renewed sense of hope and pride. Regaining and regenerating the term Chicano and having Chicanismo and identity, embracing the political consciousness of the Mexicans' history in the United States was the first step toward releasing the psychological barriers in the minds of many Mexican Americans. Initially, Chicano was used to refer to all people of Mexican origin. Since the 20th century, the term has referred to people of Mexican descent born in the United States. Throughout the United States, when racial minorities entered universities and colleges in large numbers, they formed civil rights organizations on campus. Their main concerns were desegregation, voting rights, increasing the college enrollment of racial minorities, and advocating for the poor. By late 1960s, many Mexican American students had begun to call themselves Chicanos, an ethnic identifier associated with Aztec culture. It signified their pride in being people of color. The term Chicano was introduced by college students, but its use spread to high school students and was adopted by thousands of Mexican Americans across the country. The Mexican American Civil Rights Movement eventually came to be known as the Chicano Movement, and it formed an important sector of the civil rights movement. The term Chicana has feminist connotations resulting from its use by Mexican American female activists determined to raise consciousness about women's rights within the Chicano community and to raise political awareness of those outside the Chicano community. In fact, during the Chicano movement of the 1960s and 1970s, Chicanos established a strong political presence and agenda in the United States through the leadership of Rodolfo Corky Gonzales, Cesar Chavez, and Dolores Huerta. All three individuals gave strength to men and women in the community to fight for equality and demand social justice. The Chicano movement, political unrest, community disturbances, and a focus on ethnic conflict raised the consciousness of brown pride, Chicano power, and Chicanismo. Chicano power signified that the community would no longer tolerate the injustices imposed by Caucasian society. Chicanos demanded a change in the social and political climate in the United States and considered anything less inadequate. These ideologies became threatening to Caucasian society, but Chicanos maintained momentum and encouraged others to regain what had been lost and to assert their civil liberties and rights as people who deserve social equality. Chicanos represent a large percentage of the population in the states of California, Texas, Arizona, New Mexico, Nevada, and Colorado. Though the population continues to grow, many question the factors that hinder the social mobility of this group. After careful review of this group's social status, scholars have argued that Chicanos continue to encounter similar problems to those faced before 1980. Today, Chicanos continue to face poverty, crime, violence, poor healthcare access, lack of health insurance, underrepresentation in U.S. politics, and discrimination in schools. A group's success in society is highly dependent on its perceived social status. The way Chicanos are perceived in the United States plays an important role in psychological and social factors within the community. Eurocentric values and cultural norms have placed Chicanos and Chicanas at a level in society where upward mobility has become extremely difficult and, at times, impossible. The social and cultural disconnection of Chicanos from Caucasian American society often shapes two distinct cultural experiences. In particular, Chicanos, or Mexican Americans, live within what many have called the space, or the hyphen. The dual moniker, Mexican American, suggests that Chicanos straddle two worlds, further reinforcing their cultural incongruity. Many Chicanos' experience of prejudice, racism, and mainstream attitudes remind them that although Mexico may not be their homeland, America does not always feel like home either. The irony, however, is that the southwest region of the United States was once part of Mexico. The dominant sentiment in the community is that we didn't cross the border crossed us. We must not forget our icons and heroes. Don't let outsiders tell you we got no heroes. We got to gatekeep our culture. It's up to us to put our history in proper context. Corky started a Chicano rights organization and a dual language alternative school to make sure respect and awareness of Mexican American culture would carry on. Corky's work unified Chicanos, giving them a voice and a framework for liberation, encapsulated in the manifesto, The Spiritual Plan of Aztlan, which called for Chicano self-determination. He remains a legendary figure in the Chicano movement, remembered for his boxing spirit applied to community activism. Corky Gonzales died in 2005, but his inspiration continues in the movement he helped fire up. A library on Denver's west side carries his name, Rodolfo Corky Gonzales. And this concludes for tonight's broadcast. Until next time, family. And always remember, the journey has just begun. What Corky started, we're here to finish, by any means necessary.